Carl Friedrich Buechner, the American writer and theologist, said, "Resurrection means the worst thing is never the last thing. Every beginning leads to an end, and every end to a new beginning. The chain never breaks." And so, once upon a time. Alpen Oil. It wasn't really a company as big as you would expect an oil company to be, but they made a clean profit every year. Catherine Ruther inherited the company from her father, Reginald Ruther. If Reginald had a periscope in heaven, he would have been really proud of the way his daughter ran the organization. Catherine was happy with the geological survey of the Austrian Alps and gave her nod to the development fund needed to do some sample drilling. Drill number A567 was west of Salzburg, up in the mountains. Its entrails were around 50 feet into the earth, spurting out sample rocks from under, and throwing them on the conveyor belt where experts with their snow gear and dark glasses studied each sample and pulled out the one with potential. "Stop the drill! Stop the drill!" one of them screamed. There was a look of terror on his face. His holler sent the alarm systems ringing, and the drill was brought to a stop using the emergency systems. The supervisor rushed to him. "What the hell is it?" he shouted over the icy wind. The worker picked up a piece from the belt. "This is not a stone." He had a look of fear in his face. The supervisor narrowed his eyes. "It's human flesh," the worker gasped. Catherine got off the helicopter, bending low to escape the rotors. She quickly stepped into the waiting limousine on the tarmac. The suited chauffeur put the car into drive, and soon they drove out of the private airfield. Situated on the outskirts of Salzburg and speeding towards the site of the recent discovery, Catherine reached the base camp of drill A567 and met the supervisor, who had seen the part of human flesh with his very own eyes. He had been informed that the chairperson herself was coming, so he was already waiting for her. "I would like to not waste time and go directly to the site where you have excavated the piece of flesh," Catherine said. The supervisor nodded and escorted her to the waiting snowmobile, ferried her across the site near the drill. There was a metal platform erected very close to the drill. In front of the platform, there was a large square dug deep into the ice, as wide as half a baseball court. A tape ran all around it, strung on metal rods dug into the snow, to save people from falling into the hole. The supervisor helped Catherine up the platform, from where she could have a clear look into the hole. What Catherine saw made her gape in awe. Frozen in the ice, 20 feet deep, was a man caught in a running posture, like he was running from something when the ice came down on him. Naked. He looked strong, with almost Nordic features. There were some injuries on him that seemed to have healed over time. What stunned Catherine was the way the man had been preserved. It looked like he was dead just a couple of days back. Yet, anyone who had been buried under 20 feet of ice had obviously been there for a long time. It was at that moment that a thought crossed Catherine's mind. What if This man was frozen alive. Dr. Benjamin Knowles was a friend and a leading doctor in the field of cryogenics. It was the science of reviving people after a long frozen sleep, much like periods of hibernation. Catherine sat with him in his office and waited for him to assimilate what she had told him about the frozen man. I would have to bring him to the lab and judge the amount of brain damage, if any. This is just a wild idea. You know that, Catherine, right? Catherine smiled. Yes, I know, but imagine. What if he comes alive? Imagine finding out about him. Imagine what that could do to your study. Dr. Knowles nodded and agreed with her. Carving the man out of the ice was a tough task, but tougher yet was the task of shipping him to Zurich. Dr. Knowles had instructed that the frozen man had to be brought to the clinic in the ice. If they took him out, he would decompose in minutes. The shipping team managed to drive him in a cold storage truck in a 5 feet thick ice coffin. Once at the clinic, Dr. Knowles set about the task of carving him out. The team of doctors worked around the clock. This could be the find of the century. What they did not know was that this would be the find of many centuries. 15 days later, Catherine received a call from Dr. Knowles, the call that she had been waiting for. He is alive. He's awake. He's talking a language we don't understand. We have called in a linguistic expert. You better come to Zurich, Dr. Knowles said. Catherine was in Paris when she got the call. She finished her meeting as soon as she could and then flew to Zurich. It was past midnight when she reached the facility. Dr. Knowles was waiting for her. He told her the linguistics expert was waiting for them, but he did not want to have the conversation with the man without Catherine present in the room. Both Catherine and Dr. Knowles went to the waiting room. Catherine could see the man sitting on the hospital bed. He was looking around him in wonder. She could notice his rippling muscles. He looked like the statue Michelangelo's David, as if David had come to life. There were wounds all over his body, but oddly, they looked like they were made with a long blade, like a sword. Could this man be a swordsman of old? Catherine thought to herself. The linguistics expert walked in. Catherine felt herself tense. This was too exciting. Dangerous, perhaps. The frozen man nodded, and the linguistics expert nodded and greeted him in English. The man responded in a very strange tongue. The expert seemed to be stunned. Then she looked at the waiting room where Catherine and Dr. Knowles stood. This man speaks ancient Latin, she informed them. Then the expert turned back to the man and spoke to him some more. All of a sudden, her body language changed. She took a step back and looked like she was hit by a freight train. At last, she turned to the waiting room and whispered, "This man says his name is Spartacus. He was the gladiator who rebelled and fought the armies of Rome in 71 BC. He thinks he has just escaped from the Third Civil War. And he wants to meet with a Roman tribune by the name of Julius Caesar